Welcome, everyone. I am Sista Shaman, and today I am facilitating your workshop, and it is called Creating a Family Legacy Cookbook. Creating a Family Legacy Cookbook. So I was reading an article recently on a genealogy website, and genealogy is like people who study family histories. And it was talking about how a family recipe is like a time machine. And it talks about how when you taste a bite of the food, that it transports you back in time to a place in your life when food brought your family together. That's what the article said. And so that time could be like a birthday, a cookout, a graduation, a holiday celebration, or just a regular old Sunday night family dinner. Sometimes those recipes take us back in time to our mother's kitchen, our grandmother's kitchen, our aunt's kitchen, or if you had a cooking father and uncle, those bites and those recipes will take you back to those places as well. But these recipes not only allow for us to have information about the foods that our family enjoyed, it also will be, if you collect them, it can create memories for generations to come. So here we are, we have a picture here. We can look at this picture and we can see that the person who is kneading this bread is older. You can see that the hands are wrinkled, and she's probably made thousands of loaves of bread or thousands of biscuits in her life. But what happens when the person in the picture passes? Elders who made our recipes, when they pass on, what happens when they transition? And you want to eat the bread or you want to eat the biscuit, what happens if those recipes haven't been collected? And so a part of the purpose of this workshop is for us to collect these family recipes so that we can share our grandmother's favorite dish with her great grandchildren. Some of the questions that come up with this type of work are, why is it important to do this? Why is it important? It's because of who your family is to you. Where did they come from, right? Were they from a different part of the world that cooked differently, and you're like in America now, but your family is from the Caribbean, and they maybe grew up cooking dumplings, which is something that I don't know how to cook, but I know like my friends from Jamaica, they make dumplings, right? So if you don't pass on that recipe on how to make dumplings, then your children who were born here in America, they don't know how to make your home. They don't know how to make your ancestral foods. Who were your ancestors? What did they like to eat? Where did they live? Also, what did you like to eat? So my family, and my aunt is on tonight, my family is from South Carolina, but I grew up in Washington, D.C. And so I grew up eating food from South Carolina. And that was like cornbread, it was collard greens, it was beans and rice, stewed beef. We also ate a lot of fried chicken. But if you don't remember, if you don't tell the story about what your family consumed, if you don't share these stories with your children, who else is going to share them? Like my best friend is from New Jersey. She can't tell my children what I ate growing up because she grew up eating food from New Jersey. Or actually one of her parents is from Georgia. So she might have had a little Georgia cuisine in her life. But she can't tell my children about what I ate growing up in DC from people who grew up in the Carolinas. So it's important for each family to collect their own family recipes to share with their own family members. Another reason to collect these recipes is to preserve the memories and the heritage of your past. So I was just talking about why it's important for us to collect these family recipes. And I saw this movie a couple of years ago. It's called Coco. And I want us to imagine that somewhere in the spirit realm, our ancestors exist, just like in this movie, Coco. In Coco, which was created by Disney and Pixar, I believe, it's based on this Mexican holiday called El Dia de Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead. And the Day of the Dead occurs after Halloween, around November 1st or the 2nd, in different parts of Mexico. And we have this young boy named Miguel on the right, and he's trying to become a musician. And through the process of him trying to become a musician, he discovers his family history. In the movie, the ancestors of the living reside in this place called the Land of the Dead. It's a complex realm where the only beings, I should say, who inhabit this world are humans and animal spirits who have passed on. They are deceased. It reflects Mexican folklore, and the souls of the departed come to the land of dead, to the land of the dead when they die. And in death, their spirit appears as it was when they died. So like if you die at 12, then you're 12 in the land of the dead. If you die at 80, you're 80 in the land of the dead. Also, if you're a celebrity on earth, then you become a celebrity in the land of the dead. So if Beyonce had died, then her beehive would be with her in the land of the dead. Once you're in the land of the dead, the spirits reunite with their loved ones in the afterlife. So families stick together, just like families stick together on earth. In the afterlife, in this movie, families also stick together. But on El Dia de Muertos, those souls can cross this bridge and come back to earth just for one night and party with their families. So in Mexico, people are partying on El Dia de Muertos. They are having all this celebration. They put these altars up, which you can see here with all these pictures in the background. They put candles and they put food. And so if you are in the land of the dead and your relatives have placed a picture on the altar for you, they put an offering out on the ofrenda for you, then you can cross back over and you can party with them for this 1 or 2 days in the earthly realms. However, if your family has not put a picture out for you, if they have not put a picture out, if they have not put an offering out, then after some time, if no one calls your name, you just kind of fade off and you disappear into oblivion. And so these spirits who have been forgotten by their children and their children's children then have what they call the final death. And so I thought that was really sad. If a person is not remembered in the ancestral realm, then they fade into oblivion. So that's why I believe it's important for people to collect these recipes, to know the foods that your ancestors ate, to know the stories behind those recipes, and to be able to cook them so you can cook them and celebrate with your ancestors, right? Now, if you don't believe in ancestors and all of that, then at the very least, you can believe that it's important to maintain your family legacy in the memory of your family. So today, I want to offer you a few solutions on how to reconnect your family through food that has comforted your family through generations. So I have some people. Has anyone in the group inherited a recipe box or a book, a cookbook from a family member? You can just do a thumbs up. Okay, or a thumbs down. No, I have not inherited a book of recipes from my family. I think my older sister got the recipes. But if you didn't inherit a book of recipes, then I am going to share with you a few strategies on how you can then come and gather those recipes. Yeah, some people in the chat are saying they have not received these recipe books and they wish they had. But it's not too late. It is not too late if you have not received your recipes. Again, in the next few slides, I'm going to share some strategies on how to collect those recipes, and then we're going to go through an exercise together. And then I'm going to give you a brief demo on one of my digital tools that I love to use. So here are just a few recipe collection strategies. This is how we can get these recipes from our living family members. Okay, so one sister says that she has been taught the recipes but hasn't inherited a recipe book. Thank you. Okay, so the first thing we can do is we can use email, right? We can email our family members. We are in Facebook group with our family members. We can post a request to the Facebook groups with these family members, or we can email them directly. Or if there is a family newsletter that goes out quarterly, we can say, hey, family, I'm collecting family recipes. Can you reply back and give me the recipe, even if it's a partial recipe, right? Everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people use email or they're using Facebook. And so these are easy ways that you can collect these recipes. And the beautiful thing about collecting it this way is that if they're typing it, it's digital and you can take the text and you can manipulate it later. Now, my aunt is on. My Aunt Irene is on, she knows how to use email, right? She's an elder in our family, right? But she still uses email. Some of your elders will not use email. They're just not going to do it because it's just not comfortable for them. So if you have an elder who's not going to use email, then we're going to have to use one of the other strategies that I'm going to speak about next. The next thing you can do is you can host a potluck with family members at a reunion, or just host a potluck for a Sunday dinner. And what you do is you ask those family members to bring a recipe that's a favorite recipe of theirs that they like to make. It's not the time for surprises or we try to, do something you saw in a magazine. This is, you're asking them to specifically bring a recipe that they love and they cherish and that they know how to cook well. And you're going to ask them to bring that recipe, not the recipe, you're going to ask them to bring the prepared dish to the potluck. And then at that potluck, you can then ask them when they bring the recipe. So you would have to do it ahead of time. You would say, can you bring the prepared dish, and can you bring the recipe written on a card, right? And then when they're there, before everyone digs in, you can actually take a picture of them with their recipe that can be later used for a digital scrapbook or your digital cookbook. A third strategy to collect your recipes for your legacy book, let me get back over here, you guys, is to go and record the cook. So like my sister, I told y'all earlier that my older sister, Jacinta, was able to collect a lot of my grandmother's recipes. And my grandmother has transitioned several years now. And I wanted to honor her for her birthday and make her one of her cakes, because for every birthday that I ever had, my grandmother always made a cake for me. Like when I was in school, she made a cake and she sent it in the mail. So I said, I want to make a cake for my grandmother to honor her birthday. And it was like, and so my sister said she would help. Now this recipe didn't have any instructions, y'all, and it barely had like measurements. So sometimes an elder who will pass a recipe on won't give you specific measurements or specific things you have to do. So my sister and I were making this pound cake. I didn't know, because I don't bake, that like the butter has to be at room temperature and the eggs have to be at room temperature, and you have to add them in one at a time and mix it. Like you can't just dump everything in the in the bowl together. Like had I not had my sister there to explain those details to me, the cake would have just been horrible, right? And so if you have a cook in your family that maybe is not good with writing down details, you go to their house with your cell phone and say, hey, how do you make this? Can you tell me how you make this? And you record them. Give them the details. So I called my mother last week, and my mother and my aunt make some of the best fried chicken. Like I don't go to Popeyes. I don't go to churches. If they're not cooking this chicken, I don't eat your fried chicken. I just don't do it. And I'm sure that my grandma Dora taught them how to cook the chicken. So I called my mother last week and I said, Mom, how you make the chicken? And she says, well, you got to have it at room temperature. I said, well, what seasonings you put on it? Now, if you're from South Carolina, your answer are salt and pepper and a little oil. That's it. And Irene, what you put in it? Salt and pepper. Mom, what you put in it? Salt and pepper. Like that's how my family responds. Like any type, they don't put other seasons. They use salt and pepper. Anybody else have that same experience where you ask one of your relatives what they put in it, and it's like something simple, but it tastes so good? And so I called my mother and she said, oh, well, you have to have the chicken at room temperature, and you put the salt and pepper on the chicken, and then you put it in the bag with the flour, but you don't double dip it, and I don't use eggs, and then you have to use a special oil, right? So those were very specific instructions I got from her that she would not have written down on a piece of paper. And sometimes you just got to go figure out how to do it by recording them while they're doing it. Let me move on to my fourth strategy. Another strategy is to create a family cookbook by collecting the recipes that we said earlier. And if you don't have the recipes, on another slide, I'm going to tell you some ways that you can kind of figure out what ingredients to put in your recipes. Another thing you can do to collect family recipes or to share family recipes is to start your own scrapbook. And a scrapbook would be something that you get from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or even Walmart. It's a physical book like a photo album, but instead of pages that are covered in the plastic sheet, you would just have a plain piece of paper, and you would tack down the pictures to it, you would tack the recipes to it, and you might decorate it. But that's only a one-off thing, and that book itself would be handed down to your children. Whereas a digital cookbook or another cookbook could be replicated and shared with multiple family members. The family cookbook can also be given out as a wedding gift. Like if you have a wedding party dinner before the wedding, then those family cookbooks could be shared at that wedding party. I think they call it a rehearsal dinner, or they can be shared at a baby shower. So those are places where you can share your family cookbooks. The last thing to do, which is very similar to recording the cook, is actually to cook with the cook. So you be the sous chef and you chop up the vegetables, or you prepare the food, and then you're able to sit there with your relative and collect the recipe through experience. So what happens if the relative has passed and you don't have the recipe? Now, you can go on a site like All Recipes, Epicurious, or Food Network, and you can search for a recipe. And then you have to experiment, right? You can go on all recipes here. And so earlier I was talking about pound cake. You can put grandma's pound cake. And All Recipe will give you several recipes for the pound cake. Now, before you add these recipes to your family cookbook, you probably want to try them out and make sure they taste good. And if you don't know how to cook like me, you go on YouTube and you watch a video to see how you actually cook it, because the actual preparing of the food. Oh, yes. Somebody in the chat says that Google search is also good. Yes, I was going to suggest Google search. Google is my best friend. I do not work for Google, but I use Google every day. I'm a Mac and I don't use Safari, I use Google. So you see the Google on the page there. But yes, you can search on Google and find a recipe, test it out first with your family that you now live with, make your adjustments. You can like, yeah, I like this, but grandma made it a little bit more lemony. So if it says 1 teaspoon of lemon, you might put a tablespoon. And you also have to realize with some of these sites, other people, other cultures, like my people like spicy food. Or I want to say savory seasoned food. Whereas I've been with some other families that don't look like me and their food is not quite as savory or as spicy, right? So when you get these recipes off these websites, you really have to take it with a grain of salt. You might have to add a grain of salt, but what I'm saying is that you can't just take the recipe as is. You have to practice making it and make your adjustments. And then once you make your adjustments, that is the recipe directions that you add to your family cookbook, if you cannot get the actual recipe from your family member themselves. So now we have an activity. This was originally set up for youth and families. So if you don't have a young person here with you, then we can just answer these questions ourselves. If we can have maybe we can have a group discussion among the people who are here. Can people tell me, maybe come off mute and let me know where your family is from? Like, where are you from in the States, or where are you from in the world?
My family's from Jamaica.
Oh, wow, Jamaica. I was talking about dumplings earlier. I don't know if you were on the call yet. And I was saying, if you were from Jamaica and your family moved to the States and you didn't grow up watching dumplings being made, it might be difficult for you to replicate that recipe. So that's why you have to go and talk with your elders about exactly how they made it. You know how to make dumplings?
I do.
Oh, yes. Okay. Did you grow up in Jamaica, or you grew up here?
Both. I grew up until I was 6 years old in Jamaica.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Anybody else want to share where they're from? All right. So what were some of our favorite meals when I was growing up? Now, I love okra. I love okra and I love lima beans. Although I find that a lot of people can't really tolerate it. They think it's like slimy, but that's what I grew up eating, like rice. Like we had okra and lima beans or some type of beans every week. Like that was just a staple in our household. So I actually like okra. Um, and I like it slimy. I think it's interesting. But that's a real Carolina thing to do, or it's a real Southern food. Like I don't think people in the North really like okra unless it's fried. They just don't. So one thing that you want to identify, I would like you to answer the questions. Answer the questions that you see on the screen. You can just take a piece of paper and take a couple of minutes to write down the answers to these questions. All right. I hope that gave everyone enough time. And these are just questions that you can ponder and you can ask your family members later. This will be a great exercise to ask your mother, you have aunties, um, your father, your uncles, even some of your cousins, just to collect this information. This is how you can build your family, the actual recipes that actually go into the family recipe book, because you want to have in your book things that your family members actually like to eat. You don't want to just pick random stuff or stuff that you like to eat, because my granddaddy liked eating, he liked all parts of the pig. Like, so he ate pig brains, like hog brains. Like my grandmother would scramble it up in his egg. Now I'm not going to eat hog brains with eggs. But my granddaddy liked it, right? Maybe somebody else in my family might want to eat that, or they eat the ears from the pig. I thought that was really interesting when I would grow up to go to South Carolina. I was like, this is really interesting food. This is a little bit too much for me. I don't know if I can do that. But but different people like different things. So you can't leave that out just because it's not your personal preference to eat it. If a family member liked it and it was their favorite food, then you need to include it in the recipe book. So we're going to move on to the next slide, and we're going to get into my demo on how we can create this family recipe book. We have two options to do it. We can either do it ourselves, make it our own way, or we can use an app or a website to do it. Now, the way I would choose to make it on my own would either be using a program called Google Slides, which I will show you a demo, or to use Canva. These are two websites where if you have kind of like not two websites, well, it is through the web, but these are two tools that you can use if you have kind of like a creative eye and you know what you want. You can go and use these tools and make things your own. Otherwise, if you've collected the recipes and you have them in Word format, you can go to a site like Shutterfly or Family Cookbook Project, which I will also show you those sites later. And then you can just copy and paste those recipes to those books and they will lay out the book for you. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is 2-minute video that just overviews Google Slides. So I just want to show you this video first, and then I'm going to get into Google and just show you what the templates for the cookbook recipe and cookbooks look like.
Google Slides is a free, web-based application that allows you to create dynamic slide presentations similar to Microsoft PowerPoint. These presentations can include animations, images, videos, and much more. To get started, click the New button, then click Google Slides. Next, you might want to take a minute to explore the interface and learn your way around the different tools and features, including the menu and shortcut toolbars, zoom settings, and choosing a theme. First, we have the toolbar, where you can access different shortcuts that let you work with your document. This includes the commands like layout and transition, as well as formatting options like font color and size. To view even more options, use the menus above the toolbar. These give you access to many of the same tools and features, but with a few additions. For example, under Insert, you can add images, shapes, and other special elements to your slides. In the upper left corner, you can navigate back to Google Slides Home. Or you can click here to change the title of your presentation. You may have noticed that there's no Save button. That's because Google Slides uses an autosave feature, which automatically saves your file anytime you make a change. Finally, in the upper right corner, you'll find the Comments button and the Share button. These allow you to collaborate with other Google Drive users and quickly manage your sharing options. Within the main view of your presentation, there's the slide navigation pane, text placeholders, and an area to add speaker notes for presentations. When you're ready to show your presentation, or if you want to see what it will look like during a presentation, click the Present button to the right of the menus. You can also click the drop-down arrow for additional presentation options. That covers the basics of Google Slides. Now that you know your way around, you can start using it to create presentations of your own.
All right, so that was Google Slides. The beautiful thing about Google Slides, as you heard, is that you can share your slides. So you can make a slide in your Google and share it with any other family member or friend, and then they can also edit the document, and so it becomes a shared workspace. And then you can then take that after it's done, and you can export it to PDF and go get it printed at Office Depot or some Staples or someplace like that. So I'm going to show you a couple of Google Slide templates, and then we're going to actually go to Google. If you have Google, you can go, or you can just watch me. This is just a quick demo. We're not really diving deep in how to use Google so much as to show you its application for the use of a family cookbook. So let me go to
Google Slides is a free web-based application that allows you to create dynamic slide presentations.
All right, so this is one of the templates from Google Slide that, and I changed the title. I think it said Tasty Snacks before, but I just changed it to Family Recipe. And here is another template from Google Slides where it shows you, it has already placed the text for you. All you have to go in is delete the Lorem Ipsum text, which is the kind of funny looking text on the right, and swap it out with whatever your family recipe is. Here's another one. This picture can be customized. You can swap it. They call it replace the picture. You swap it out for a picture. Like if you wanted to do, like I was earlier talking about my mother's fried chicken, right? I might take a picture, a stock image of fried chicken, or I might have my mother cook some chicken and take a picture of her chicken itself and add it. And then a recipe is here where you can write the ingredients, not the ingredients, but the directions for the recipe. They also have some fancier templates in Google Slide. I think this one has a more slicker look. In this one, I might choose to not even go to Office Depot and print. I might send this to a site like Shutterstock and actually get a hardback book printed. And this is another template from Google. So as you can see, you can have a really, really nice looking cookbook for your family, and that you don't have to do a lot of design work to. So let's go to Google Slides. So this is the Google logo on the left, and this is the Google Slide logo. And so to get to Google Slides, you would just go to Google. If you have a Google account. If you don't have a Google account, you're going to have to sign up for a Google account. If you have a Google account, your page might look like this one here. And your picture, if you load a picture in Google, will be on the right. There's this, not a tic-tac-toe, but these 9 dots here, which shows you where your Google apps are. You simply click on your Google apps and you scroll down till you get to Google Slides here. So there's like a trillion Google apps or Google add-ins. You just have to kind of scroll till you find it. And if you can't find it, you have to search. But Google Slides is a basic Google app. So it's going to be here in this pop-up menu. Once Google Slides opens, it shows you these templates across the top. And so you can see here that it has the recipes showcase template and the recipe book template. We're just going to open up the recipes showcase. Everyone who has access to Google has access to these templates. It's in the template gallery, and it automatically opens when you go into Google Slides. And you will simply just click whichever one you want to open. I like the slicker looking one. I like the colors on it better. I'm going to open that. When you open up the template, You will see all of your available slide templates here on the left-hand side, right? And if you're familiar with PowerPoint, and most people are, if you're familiar with PowerPoint, you just go in and you click on what you want to change. So instead of it saying family recipes, I want it to say Gray Family Recipes because that's my family name. And so I simply click on the words and I'm going to add a word. And there I go. I've personalized the book now. Now, I'm not a big spaghetti eater, so I might want to change this picture, and I'm going to right click and it says replace image here. If you scroll down, the beautiful thing about Google, because it is a search engine, if you don't have an image that you want to use on your computer that has been taken of your family's own recipes, you can do a web search. So we go down to replace the image, we do a web search. Somebody write in the chat something that we should search for. Give me a favorite dish that we're going to look and see if Google has an image of it. We'll do two. I see Jamaican jerk chicken here, and Ackee and saltfish. Come on with the Caribbean food, Ackee and saltfish, right? They even can find the recipe for you, but we're looking for images, right? So now I have customized the book. I might choose a better looking picture than that, but we're going to leave it there. This is just a demonstration, right? You can go to the next page. You can also add more pictures here. And you can come down here and change the Lorem Ipsum text by clicking on it in the box and just typing over it like we did before. It's literally that easy. And then when you want to share it, up in this upper right-hand corner, right now it says it's private to only me. But if you want to share it with your family members, it will open up a window, and then you can just type the email address of the person you want to share it with. So if I wanted to share it, you will type in the email address that you want to share it with, and you will hit done. And then that person has access to it. You can share with as many family members as you want to share it with, right? Here's another picture. You can replace this picture and replace the recipe with a family recipe. And then when you're finished, you're going to export it or download it. You can download it as a PDF document. That is where you want to download it, as a PDF document. And then that file is what you would send to your printers. So let's go back over here to our presentation. The next app or the next website I want to tell you all about is called Canva. And Canva is an online website that allows you to make really quick desktop publishing, flyers and stuff like that. You can make a lot of things with Canva. And so this on the right is also a template from Canva, which you can also customize by swapping out pictures. So let's say we go to Canva and you open up on the home page with Canva, and up here at the top where it says search, you will simply search recipe. I already have it in because I was preparing for the presentation. But when you search recipe card, and it's just running just a little bit slow, it pulls up 18,000 recipe cards. Y'all see this number here on the right? 18,000, not 18,000, but 1,850 recipe cards. And so then you would just simply scroll to the one that you like the best. Because in the end of this, what you're going to do is you're going to export it to PDF and then take it to be printed. And so you can see which one, which colors ones, like you might one that just has pictures. Like, so you might want to start your recipe book off here with pictures. And very similar to Google Slides, you will just simply click in the box and type over what's there. So instead of saying design cookies, I want to put family recipes. Family meals or something, you know? Family dishes, I think. I'm saying this because of the space that is available. And then instead of how to, you might switch it to the year that you created the book. And then I don't want that, so I'm going to delete that. Now, the beautiful thing with Canva is that it also has images just like Google. And you will go to photos and search. And so let's see if we can find the Aki and Saltfish here with Google. I mean, not with Google, but with Canva. Sometimes they have stuff and sometimes they don't. We'll see if they have Aki and Saltfish. I want to say landscape pictures. You can check the orientation so that it's vertical and apply a filter, because all of these are portrait. So you want to find something that's going to fit in the portrait. So I'm just going to select one at random and I'm just going to drag it over, and you just drag it over into where you want it. That's how you can customize Canva. And if I want fried chicken again, like I did on the last one, I'm then going to go and choose it so that it's vertical, is already applied. Let's see, let's just pick this one. I'm going to drag over this picture. I didn't do it very well, y'all. Let me try that one more time. And so then I have my fried chicken. And so you do that until all your pictures are done. Then you want to add a page. It's going to give you a blank page. You're going to go back to templates here, and you're going to look for recipe card. And it will pull up more templates for you. And then you can choose what your second page of your book is going to look like. Now you want to unify the colors. You want to unify the colors that you're choosing. But you can do that later. You can swap out the colors later. So you want something that looks like it will match with the first page. And so if I click on it twice, it fills my page. And then you're just going to swap out the text. This is very easy. This won't take any time at all. And you can swap out the images up here again. And then when you're finished with your pages, you can download it. And Canva itself actually has a print shop. So if you wanted to, you could actually have Canva printed for you, right? They print stuff. I don't know if y'all can see. Let me see if I can scroll down. So they will actually print it for you if you want it, if you want them to print it for you in a photo book. So you can also get your book printed with Canva. Let's go back to our, does anybody have any questions before we move on to the next slide? Okay. Now, so we did Google, we did Canva. Those were two that I recommended if you want to play with it a little bit more and you have kind of like a creative eye and you're good with searching for images, then Canva and Google Slides would be your best bet. Now, if you're saying, I don't want to do all of that, Sista Shaman, that's just too much for me. I just have the recipes and I just want it to be produced for me by someone else. Then you can go to another website. It's called Family Cookbook Project. And I'm going to play this video for this. And there's lots of sites that do this. This is just one. So if you just do a Google search, you can find others. I am not endorsing them. I'm just showing them for a demonstration.
Do you have recipes all over the place? Well, get organized and create your own personal cookbook. With Family Cookbook Project, creating your very own cookbook is as easy as 3 simple steps. Collect and enter your favorite recipes into a simple online form. Select your cookbook cover, dividers, and recipe layout from our library of professionally designed options, or even create your own. Have your new cookbook professionally printed and delivered to your doorstep to use in your kitchen, or share it with your family and friends as a wonderful personal gift. Creating a printed personal cookbook has never been easier than with Family Cookbook Project. Try it today. Simple. Do you have recipes all over the place?
Okay, here we go. I'm like, I don't know why it keeps on playing that, you guys, but it's all right. Another thing that we can look at quickly, I wanted to show you is Shutterfly. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go, shutterfly.com. This is a website that sells photo books. So with Shutterfly, it will require you to do some of the formatting as well, but you would go in and you would select which type of book you want. If you wanted a long book or you know, like more rectangular shapes, landscape, or if you want a tall book, and you would simply select it. And then you would take those recipes that you've had in your Word document, and you would cut them and paste them onto the pages. So here are some resources. This first one was the Family Tree magazine. I was telling you about that genealogy website when we first started, that gave me the idea of recipes being like a time machine that allow you to go back and kind of revisit your family history. We just saw Shutterfly. We've done Google Docs, the Family Cookbook Project, all recipes in Canva. So those are some resources that we have. If you want them, I can drop them in the chat, or you can take a screenshot of them. And if you just do a Google search, it will send you right to it. The most important takeaway from this I want to say is that we really do need to capture the memories. We do need to capture these recipes so that our family memories can be recorded. That is why this is important. You want to be able to have your children and their children eat what your grandparents ate. And some of the foods we ate, or some of the foods our grandparents ate, weren't necessarily the healthiest foods. So it's not like they have to eat it every day, but they should at least know how to make it. All right, I am Sista Shaman. I am here with the ArtsXchange in Atlanta. Thank you for joining us for tonight's workshop on family legacy cookbooks.